Hey, it's SHANIQUE.JAVELLE. This will be my first of many tutorials. Today we are doing highlights on a 16-inch deep curly lace front wig. These steps are basic, so you're free to make changes to get different styles. We will be using products you can find in any beauty supply store. Changing the bleach you use can alter the outcome. Here in this video, I'm using Clairol BW2 bleach with the Clairol 30 and 40 volume developers. I like to use Wella toners. Here we're using T18 in this video with the Wella activating lotion. You will need 3 mixing bowls and brushes, as well as foil paper. I always suggest using gloves or you will definitely end up with burns all over your hands. You don't want the consistency to be too thick, so continue to add activator as needed to get a liquidy consistency that drips easily from the brush. I suggest parting down the middle to start with and going down each side from there. So I basically split the wig up in 3 portions when I do highlights. Starting with about a 1-inch thick, 4-inch wide portion of hair, you're going to want to use the tail end of a rat tail comb. Going in a zigzag motion, dropping hair and holding hair up as you go. The hair that is left up in your hand is the hair that you'll be highlighting. So place the piece of foil underneath the hair that was left being held up. You can now begin adding your mixture. At the top of the hair where you begin highlighting, you're going to want to turn your brush vertically so that you can blend and not have a harsh line where your highlights start. Blending the start of the highlight is important because it helps with your finished look looking very natural and not harsh. You're going to want to continue this all over. What I like to do is do a highlight, part, and skip some hair, and then do another highlight. This will help again with the final look with making your highlights look like they're sporadically placed and not just straight lines. If you want the straight line look, I suggest doing your grooves in the same amounts for each highlight, which will cause them to look very uniformed. If you want a more natural looking highlight, then you go ahead with this technique, doing every other parted line highlighted and not highlighted. When you get to the other side, you're going to want to do the same thing. I tried to do the exact same amount of skipped lines and parts as I did on the previous side, just to keep with a uniform look so one side doesn't look more highlighted than the other. As I go through the entire head, I like to skip between the 30 volume mixture and the 40 volume mixture, just so that in the final look, it will have different levels of blondness and give you multiple variations of color and multiple different blondes and give you a really nice finished look. Another beautiful combination is doing 20 volume and 40 volume. It is so dynamic and the blondes are so many variations. You can also try that one as well. This technique can be used with not only curly hair, it can also be used with straight hair, body wave hair. You can use this same technique when it comes to bundles, frontals, closures. Also, when it comes to Wella toners, you can always experiment with the different ones that they have. It gives a different look to the blondes depending on which toner that you use. When I get to the back, I still do the same technique that I did in the front two sections. I suggest processing for about 30 minutes. The longer you leave your bleach on, the lighter your blonde will be. For the second step of the process, you're going to remove the foils. Begin spreading the mixture that is already on the highlighted portions throughout the hair. Do this throughout the entire wig and make sure you get it fully distributed throughout the whole entire wig. If you like the more streaky look, this is where you can stop in the process and go ahead and skip to the toning part. But if you want a little bit more of a blended highlight as well as multiple colors and dimensions with your blondes, then you're going to go ahead to this step, which we will be adding some more of the 30 volume mixture throughout the entire wig. This time, it doesn't matter if the mixture is a little bit more on the thicker side. You're going to want to go one by one, picking up random individual strands and putting the mixture on them and using your hands to smooth it. This will distribute the mixture all the way up and down the entire strand and give you a very uniformed look when it's completely processed. Continue this step throughout the whole entire wig. You don't have to do many pieces, or you can. That part is totally up to you. Look around for spots that seem to not have as much color and go ahead and just add some more throughout randomly. Return to the front of your wig where your highlights start and go ahead and do the vertical blending motion with what product is left on your brush. This will further help the blend and start of where your highlights begin and have it not look harsh. Here's how it looks as it's processing, and we're going to want to leave this for another 20 minutes at least. This step is only if you have not done this previously, and this is where we're going to bleach the knots. When you bleach the knots, you're going to want the mixture to be very, very thick. And I like to use 30 volume when I do mine and process it for 30 minutes. Making sure all the hairs are in the backwards directions, I flip the wig over and put it on the mannequin head in reverse. Add my T-pins to make sure that it stays in place so that I can begin bleaching the knots. When you're bleaching the knots, you want to gently apply it on. If you press too hard, it will seep through and cause your knots to be over bleached. Picking up too much of the mixture onto the brush can also do this. So use as little product as possible as you do it and tap gently. I do this in this order when I am wanting a very, very light highlight, because this process does take a while. And if you're not going for a light highlight, you do not want to include this step. After your wig is finished processing and you rinse it out, you're going to want to towel dry it. Even though it's wet, you can see already all of the different blonde variations and all the different colors. You can see that there's no harsh line and the highlights look free forming and just very randomly placed. So it looks very, very natural. Now it is time to tone, and for that, again, we're using the Wella T18 toner. And for this, you're going to want to use 1 part toner and 2 parts activating lotion. Pour the full bottle of toner into your mixing bowl. Then you're going to want to fill that bottle with the activating lotion. You're going to do that 2 times, which will give you your 1 part toner and 2 parts activating lotion. Mix the mixture until it's completely one consistency. I prefer to add toner with my hands because typically this step goes pretty fast. You want to make sure that you're evenly distributing this completely because you don't want any brassy spots left, and smoothing it in as you go. You have to keep your eye on the hair the entire time that it is toning, in my opinion, because the color can change very drastically and you don't want it to look too gray or too purpley or anything like that. So keep an eye on it, and once it begins to reach your desired level of tonedness, go ahead and rinse it immediately. This concludes the highlight tutorial. However, stay tuned right now for how I pluck and style this unit, and then you can see the finished look in the end. Here is the finished completed dry look. As you can see, there are various different shades of blonde. All of the curls are still there. None of them are straightened or over processed. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial. Leave me any questions that you have on this tutorial. Also, send me and tag me in your finished outcome when you try this tutorial out for yourself.